welcome to another episode, I guess, of whatever we call this. DOSA Speaks, Moo, which was our old podcast.
Not quite Moo.
Other podcast. Moo, by the way, stood for Meet Our Opinions, because we have quite strong opinions on things.
So some things.
It wasn't a debate our opinions, it was meet our opinions and just deal with it. But basically today, firstly, sorry, with me, Eddie Stone.
And me, Matthew Brock.
Matt's not actually here.
Matt's not here. I'm not Matt.
We do have a question from Matt though.
With me, Michael Whittle.
And just saying about question, we basically the video today is a Q&A video.
We thought it'd be nice to try and involve some of the people that follow our page and see if they've got any questions that they want to hear us answer. So we were surprised that we actually got some responses. To be fair, I didn't think that we'd
get
have any responses.
We did only go to Facebook. We didn't ask on Twitter. I don't know if Mike did.
I didn't ask on
Twitter. We didn't do a video asking for questions.
I filmed a video, but then I didn't post it.
I've still got a video that I'll be posting later on in the week as well. So, let's just get on with the Q&A. Our first ever Q&A.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm not. But I am really. So, we've got two questions from Sam Smith. First one, why do people in sci-fi only wear underwear in cryogenic sleep?
Protection against rape. When in cryogenic sleep. Not that underwear is that much protection, but like you wouldn't want, because there's always one person still operating a shipcraft and they go in stages. You wouldn't want them to walk by and see a bare ass and be like, yeah.
But it's also,
I've got 6 months till a next scene of the human body.
Yeah, it's also why don't they wear full clothing?
I don't wear full clothing. Well, they're in water. You don't get to wear full clothing in the bath, do you?
Not always.
Usually, well, I don't know why. Apart from, that's my...
I think it's just modesty, really, and then it's just, instead of... I think just the clothing's just, yeah. Got to have a bit of thing when they wake up, so it's like, ooh, look at me, I'm in my underwear and stuff like that. It's just films, isn't it? It's just the way it is. It's the sexiness of when they wake up and they clamber about to find the clothes. I think that's what it's all about.
Does it get out, like...
Yeah, boobs almost popping out.
Yeah. I couldn't pull it off myself, but maybe.
I don't think either of us could really pull it off, to be honest.
We'd be fully clothed if we were in some sort of cryo sleep, I think.
Yeah.
We'd have armour and we'd be like Boba Fett.
Might get sunburned.
Yeah. But, you know, whether it's modesty or people need to show a bit of tit. Also, I think my protection against sexual assault though is probably the more likely.
But it's like in horrors, there's always a pointless tit shot. So in sci-fi, instead of the actual pointless tit shot, it's just go to as far as pointless underwear shot. That's how I see it.
Yeah, a bit more classy in sci-fi.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Apart from
it's like in the last Star Trek movie, isn't it? Where she just stripped down to her underwear.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh.
Star Wars, well, Leia in the very famous Carrie Fisher in her bikini.
Yeah.
That's the most fucking pointless thing ever because she just sat there on Jabba's knee. And it's like, breast. That's Jabba.
Second question from Sam is, how did Craig Charles get a job on Coronation Street?
Cocaine, I would imagine.
He's joking about that.
No, I'm not. At all.
Okay, what?
I imagine it involved coke. Well, Craig Charles has been filmed numerous times in the past year. In the past few years, he had. Was it a year?
Has he really?
Yeah, he had a hiatus off Coronation Street because he was filmed taking drugs. He hadn't made it, so I'm not being.
It's not even being slander. Wow.
No, he
didn't know
quite a few drug problems. Cocaine being the main one. So I imagine it had something to do with drugs. How he got on Coronation Street, whether the people that hired him were high, or whether he was high at the audition, and then like really,
more excited.
Which is weird because he plays a really fucking dull character.
You see, my question though is, how did Corey get Craig Charles? Because after being on
cocaine,
after being on the drug for so long, I actually really like Craig Charles.
I really like Craig Charles.
I think he is better than Coronation Street.
I never watched Red Dwarf when I was younger, so he was always the voice of Robot Wars for me, rather than Red Dwarf. So, but
I just completely forgot about Robot Wars altogether. And I just remember him being the voice for Takeshi's Castle.
and that as well. I actually forgot about that as well, but I absolutely loved Takeshi's Castle, and there was no one that could do that kind of condescending smugness. I've maybe Nigel Havers, the voiceover.
I don't know who that guy is.
It's another actor.
I knew that, but I just don't know who he plays in more.
No.
So there's our answers for that one. Basically, Craig Charles is better than Corey either way, so it doesn't matter.
He is.
From Sam Ashmore.
My cousin Sam.
Hey?
My cousin Sam.
Oh, is he your cousin?
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. I didn't know he was a cousin. Hi, Sam. What are your views on Marvel vs DC?
I prefer Marvel films.
Yeah.
I think sort of the past.
Apart from Batman and Batman Returns.
And apart from Marvel films not made by Marvel. Kind of.
I prefer DC.
I think Marvel's good when it's made by Marvel, with the exception, hopefully, of Deadpool. DC. With the exception, hopefully, of Deadpool. So I was really looking forward to Fantastic Four before it bombed as a big...
Well, it's the same as, what was it?
X-Files. X-Files.
X-Men.
X-Men Origins. A lot of people really dislike X-Men. I didn't mind the first 3 X-Men films.
And then Apocalypse looks shit in the next film.
Yeah. And I've not actually seen what's the one called? First Contact? Not First Contact, Star Trek. What is it? Class.
Not
First Class.
Yeah, First Class.
And Days of Future Past. I've not seen any of them.
They're actually really good films.
Yeah, but like the recent Marvel films made by Marvel, whether it's obviously the Avengers series, the Iron Man films, obviously. Was that made by Marvel?
I don't know if it was made by Marvel. I think
No,
it
I
was.
mean.
I think it was made by Marvel.
Well, they have a license, don't they?
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously.
I'm sure Deadpool's going to be great because it's going to be an 18 over here.
Yeah, and I'm
But,
very fond of it. So I do prefer the Marvel films,
yeah.
but I was always a bigger fan of DC Comics, even though in the past couple of years, maybe Marvel probably trumps DC on their comic lineup, I would say. Now Marvel have some quite successful Star Wars series.
Well, that's a different matter.
Marvel series, I would say better. With the exception of maybe Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Batman, which
is
potentially is one of the best series, and probably some of the indie series as well. Things like Saga, Sex Criminals, Mind MGMT. It's a really good comic. All them 3 comics probably trump some of the comics in the bigger team.
Live action films, I prefer Marvel. Animated films, I prefer DC.
DC animated films.
The amazing film, well, most of them are amazing films, especially, as I've mentioned before, Flashpoint Paradox.
Yeah.
Most emotional film, animated film that I've ever seen. Comics wise, when I was a kid, I preferred Marvel. I used to love reading Spider-Man every week. I used to love reading Ghost Rider every week. They were basically my favourite characters of Marvel. Whereas as I grew older, I started getting more into Batman and Constantine and other stuff like that, and I actually started liking the more serious, but still jerky in a sense.
I think DC has always kind of been a bit more adult.
Yeah.
Obviously, look at some of DC's villains are a lot more sort of dark and gritty.
They'd more
obviously
happily kill someone just for the sake of killing someone.
And also the recent DC films as well. Obviously, thinking of mainly the Batman series. Obviously, we're thinking of Begins, Dark Knight, and Dark Knight Rises. So them
Dark
3
Knight Rises was awful.
Considerably darker films, I think, than the quite light-hearted Marvel films. And I think that the kind of humour is one thing that recent Marvel films, I think, thrive upon, and the DC films kind of lack. They kind of lack that thing that made them special. Because comics were always a bit camp, and they've kind of lost that now.
Well, it's like with the recent Batman comics as well. It's some of the most dark storylines that you can read.
Endgame was pretty.
And obviously now after Endgame as well. Spoilers, by the way. It's not exactly a proper spoiler, but Bruce Wayne is back. He is still alive. But as Endgame mentioned, Batman did die. Because as Bruce Wayne basically became resurrected, it gave him a new brain. So he completely lost his memories of being Batman and his parents dying and everything like that. So he's basically just a shell of a man that he used to be. And Jim Gordon is now the new Bat.
Robotic Batman.
So it's still going to be the whole thing of what's going on, and it is quite a serious and dark thing. But in another comic series, I think it's the Justice League one, Batman's just become a god. So obviously they're completely different, parallel universes. But yeah, so in one story, Batman becomes just a man, and in another, Batman becomes a god. I just have to say I prefer DC. Just for things like that, I just prefer.
I think, like I said, I prefer DC Comics. I think that in terms of quality, Marvel's are consistently reviewed high, with the exception of Batman. And there's some Marvel series like Hawkeye, currently the Secret War series, the Star Wars series. Series that people really, really review highly, and DC have kind of been lacking those quality series. Really, since the New 52 started, there's been a lot of series that have trailed off. A lot of series
have been shit.
A lot have been shit.
But
so that's my thing.
Let's just say as well, hopefully there will be one day a game or a film that is decent enough that is Marvel vs DC. Because that would actually be brilliant if they could pull it off. The next one is quite a hard question. These are in no order, by the way. They were just literally written down pretty much as we got them.
See, when I first heard this question, I thought it would be one of the easy ones and more exciting ones to say. But the more I thought about it, the more I kind of flopped, basically.
At first, it was a harder question. I've got two in my head.
I've got two.
So basically, Icon vs Icon, all things pop culture, which is actually a really decent Facebook page, and
yes, follow them.
I believe they've got Instagram as well. I don't know what other pages they have, but those are the two that I follow. So go have a look. They asked, what are your top 3 anticipated films still to be released in 2015?
Only a few months left now.
So yeah, exactly. This is why it's actually quite a hard question.
I'm sure you could guess one of mine.
Star Wars.
Episode 7. I'm not even going to go into
which is also one of mine.
Episode 7 is going to be amazing.
I didn't realise it was going to be released this year until I looked it up and then realised, it's in December. And that's when I thought, Star Wars it is.
Kylo Ren's not a Sith, it turns out.
Which you always thought anyway.
Yeah, it's a relic, basically, by the look of it. So I'm not even going to talk about episode 7. We've spoken about it so much on these videos that I don't want to go over all the ground. But episode 7, can't fucking wait. I'm going to go and see it. Even if I've got to sit there on my own, looking like, a creepy middle-aged man in a fucking trench coat.
So what's your second film?
Second film?
Yeah.
I feel a bit begrudged saying this one, but it's that Good Night Mommy.
I don't even know what that is, to be honest.
The scariest trailer ever, which it wasn't the scariest trailer ever.
It does look interesting, but that's not one of mine.
That's the reason why I'm picking it. It's coming out on VOD, in a couple of weeks on September the 10th. So I'm going to definitely download myself a copy of that. It looks like my kind of horror, basically. That kind of horror that's thick with atmosphere.
I'll happily give it a watch, and to me it does actually look really interesting.
And the early reviews are quite promising. So, I'm looking forward to it, mainly because it is my kind of horror. I'm not really into gore and overly disgusting things. So I'm really looking forward to a film that really makes you just maybe not scared, but makes you A, think,
creeped out,
and B just think, I don't dare go for a piss.
My second movie is Guillermo del Toro's Crimson Peak.
That was my third one, my original third one.
That was the original third. I am actually really looking forward to it. I don't know if it's out yet. I don't think it is.
No, it's not out yet. It's October.
Well, there we go, October. I know it's out soon.
I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we were both gutted on this video that Silent Hills went away, but I'm a massive fan of Guillermo del Toro, and that was gonna be. I was really struggling for a third one, so that was definitely a contender for my third.
What was your third film then? Well, what is your third?
Really struggling for the sake because A, it looks interesting, and B, because it goes with the theme of one of our Christmas podcasts. I'm going to say the Krampus. I'm looking forward to a disgustingly funny but this horrible Christmas film. But I'm looking forward to it. It looks like it'll be an interesting take on A Tale of the Krampus. I think me and Annie both looked into the Tale of the Krampus near Christmas. So it'll be an interesting alternate Christmas movie. It comes out on December the 4th.
There are two different Krampus movies coming out as well.
Is there?
Yeah. There's I think, is that Krampus the one by Trick or Treat's director? There is also another one which I think they've had a name change now, which originally was Comes the Krampus, which is by Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I saw him.
I'm looking forward to that, but I have no idea when that's getting.
Yeah, it's not this year, is it?
No, I doubt it.
Is yours I'd probably guess your third film.
Have a guess.
Is it the Rob Zombie one?
No.
Because I was gonna. That was even. I've not actually seen any more films by Rob Zombie. Believe it or not, I've never been into his work. His new is it 31? It's called.
Yeah.
That looks. I think it looks vaguely interesting.
It's set on Halloween. I think it's actually been delayed to 2016 now. Anyway.
Consider.
So it wouldn't have worked out. But every photo that I see of that film, it just looks more and more B-movie-ish.
I kind of like how it looks.
I'll have to wait and decide.
We'll judge when it's out.
My third film doesn't exist because I don't actually have a third film that I'm really looking forward to. There are several.
I was clutching. Clutching for the Krampus.
There are several that I'm thinking, alright, I'll give it a watch, but none others than really Star Wars and Crimson Peak that really speak to me.
But if this was January 2015, looking ahead to this year, what films would you have said then? Would you have, if you could pick a third film from the end, would it have been something like Sinister 2? Or would it,
I don't know, to be honest. I really don't know. It's like I am still looking forward to watching Goosebumps, but at the same time I don't want to watch it. I'm looking forward to Devil's Carnival too, but that sort of doesn't count because it's sort of had a release already.
And a lot of people are looking forward to the new Paranormal Activity. I think that's out in October, is it?
Probably.
And a lot of people have, I think horror fans anyway would pick that, but I think they've just been flogging that dead horse. And the horse has been dead and eaten a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they're just flogging dead air.
See, I just have that much of a terrible
Yeah.
memory. I can't remember what films I've seen this year.
I remember
That
for
comes
breakfast.
from this year. I honestly
A
can't.
lot of people will say the Avengers Age of Ultron this year. And
Still haven't seen.
Jurassic World, I've not seen any of them
Jurassic
too.
World was good. It wasn't one of my most anticipated though.
What's mine? I never actually went to see them.
It was well.
So, we can't really, we'll both struggle for a third film this year.
So we've got two at least each.
And I'll say the Krampus as my third. Oh, for me, Crimson Peak is my third one potentially.
So you just nicked mine. There we go. So the next question from our every now and again resident Matt Brock.
Hi Matt.
So what is the most disturbing scene in a horror movie that you have seen ever? Originally the question was violent, but as I've said, my memory is terrible, so I really can't just think of a violent scene off the top of my head, and I'd have to rewatch all the movies.
I say violence a bit too objective to give a personal opinion on.
There's
Violent
a lot
is
of violent things out there too.
yeah, whereas disturbing something that affects you more deeply.
The first violent scene that actually came to my head was in a film called Irreversible, where a guy gets his head basically smushed to smithereens. It's pretty much it. And then also there's all of the scenes from I Spit on Your Grave, I Spit on Your Grave 2, Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, there's so many there.
There's too much violence in a lot of things to actually decide on what's the most violent.
You know, as I said, violence is kind of an objective quality, you know, whereas disturbing is more subjective.
It could be anything, yeah.
What affects us? It could be something. The thing I found interesting about this question is it could be anything. Like we could be disturbed by a man.
I have a man
sat in a tree looking like an owl. That's not an actual scene, but that would be disturbing.
You never know, it might be.
It might be.
So what was your most disturbing scene then you've ever seen?
I don't know.
After all that, he doesn't know.
A spoiler for the film, I filmed The Mist, quickly. So if
you should have seen it by now though, and if you haven't, then fair enough, you should have read the book, but the book's ending is different.
The ending of the film The Mist is not disturbing because it's like makes your skin crawl or anything. It's disturbing because it goes against one of the sort of main tropes of many action or horror movies, really, which is the main character making some big sacrificial gesture, whether it's killing his family or killing himself or whatever, you know, going out in a blaze of glory,
and then everything seems to be all right.
In The Mist, everything's all right, and he's just shot. Everyone in the car with him.
He shot his own child.
Yeah. Then it turns out they're all saved. Moments after his child's been shot.
Yeah, like literally seconds after.
I don't find that disturbing. I'm not just seeing any difference. I can't really say that. But it was a film that I watched most of the film. Got bored. So
it is a good film.
But it's an ending that, you know, I wanted to mention, an honourable mention from me. I'm also going to say the scene from Seven, where Sloth wakes up. That's pretty grim. Basically, I can't really explain much more about it than it's.
You should go watch Seven as well if you haven't already, because that is a really good film. I haven't seen it for a long time, but I do want to watch it again.
And also the family dining scene from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's something.
With the grandpa holding the hammer and.
There's something that kind of.
Weak to do it himself because he's practically dead.
Yeah, every single little nuance in that film makes you a bit uneasy, and that's the sort of film and the sort of scene that I love, basically. So that's probably the most disturbing scene ever.
An honourable mention from me is the ending of Sleepaway Camp. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Just go watch it.
Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp is a standard slasher flick, really, until you get to the end. But my main disturbing scene for me, I'll tell you basically the movie.
Not from Casper, is it?
Yeah, no. It's the most disturbing movie I've ever seen, and Tom Savini says it's the most disturbing movie he's ever seen too. It's a short film called Cutting Moments.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned this one.
I've mentioned it on podcasts.
Years
I don't know
ago,
if
yeah.
I've mentioned it on videos before, but basically there's a woman trying to look sexy for her husband and he ignores her. He just sits and watches TV. And she goes into like the bathroom and changes her clothes like into a nightie and stuff like that, and she's like, oh yeah, and he just keeps ignoring her. Eventually she starts scrubbing her makeup off, but scrubbing so much that blood starts coming from her face, and she gets the scissors and she actually starts cutting off her own lips. She goes into and that was disturbing enough for me, but that's not the most disturbing part, and you will really ask why when I do tell you the most disturbing part. But it'll make sense when I say why. And then she goes in the room and he basically looks at her, and that's when they go and have sex. After she's just covered with blood everywhere. And she cuts off, well, I don't know if he cuts them off or she cuts them off, but they cut off her own tits and his penis while having sex. The most disturbing scene for me, though, is the very last scene. All it is, the camera pans outside of the house to their child playing with Power Ranger toys in the garden. And that is the most disturbing scene to me, purely because that child has no idea what is going on in that house. And when he goes back in, what the hell is going to happen after that?
I like it. I like the
It even sends shivers down my spine just thinking how horrible the whole thing is. So to me, that's the disturbing part.
I know what I was going to say.
Go on.
Dead baby, he was at the B2.
Fair enough. That's just horrible, but yeah.
Again, I've not seen the film, but it's a thing that I wanted to, again, an honourable mention, something I wanted to get out there. Shouldn't have been even allowed to be filmed.
No, it shouldn't, I don't believe. Same with the Serbian film and stuff like that. It shouldn't be filmed. There's no point in it. Apart from, oh look.
I would rather watch Uwe Boll's full back catalogue over and over again until I die than watch Human Centipede. Any of the the 3 films there.
Yeah.
Should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Well, they know who made them.
And our final question.
You're a cunt.
His name's Tom Six.
Tom Six, I fucking hate you.
The final question is from pretty much my adoptive little brother. Steve asks, knowing what cliches to avoid and whatnot, would you ever consider writing your own script for a horror film?
No, goodbye. No, I'm kidding.
And obviously detail them, because he already knows it's a yes.
A yes from me as well.
So, detail. What would you do? What would your horror story be? Obviously you don't need to go into full, story. There are 2 that I can think of for myself.
I'm not really sure of one for me. I know the one I wanted to do was kind of more sci-fi horror. It would be set in a mental asylum for disused androids, basically. And it'd be kind of like these androids that were deficient in one way or another. They could well have issues with their cognitive ability or issues with the way they move. Effectively, it's a sort of comparison to people with disabilities, for example, and how they're shoved to one side. But this would be a horrible, kind of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but in this android asylum. And that's the film I would like to do, because I think it'd be, quite a good play on how society treats people with disabilities, which usually is horrible.
See, my type of things don't go for anything like that. I never have meaning behind any of my stories other than I want to create horror. So my first one was what I wanted to do in comic form as well. I really, really wished we could have got some sort of fucking decent artist for the comic for it, because we were looking for one for ages, but no one would commit. There were people that were interested and said, yeah, we'll do it.
You should do it.
No one ever committed. Eh?
You should do it.
I can't draw that well.
But you don't have to be able to. It's our own style.
What shit? Stickman. Anyway, so the story for that, I don't know which comic you're on about, because I mentioned a couple to you.
I was thinking about one with the house, the kid.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of them was based around, in a random town, basically the fathers of the families just randomly started killing other people, and the only reason was to protect their own family. But that was it. So it was like a mass panic of fathers just starting to kill other people that were in the family to protect their own family. It was as if something went like that in their head and just made them kill someone completely randomly.
That happened, but they killed themselves.
But that was one of them anyway. Another one was called Glimpses, which it wouldn't work as a story, it wouldn't work as a comic. It'd only work, well in my head anyway, as a film. Basically, you know that time when you look in the mirror and you think you see someone behind you, or you're walking past a room and you think there's someone in the door? I want to do a film about that. Things where a person starts going slowly insane from seeing all of these things out the corner of their eye. So you never see anything properly. The camera might pan, like in Insidious. I don't know why I've brought this one up, it's just the one that I remembered, because I don't like Insidious. Where the camera goes across and there's a little child just stood next to some coats and that. And you don't really notice him unless you're looking for him. But I want to do stuff like that. where you can just move the camera and you can just see people, creatures, whatever else. Like, if someone's going to go get in the shower or getting out of the shower, and as they're drying themselves and they look down and they just see that gap between the bath and the shower curtain, and they just see like a pair of feet in there, even though they've already been in there. Or
it would have to be, I think, brilliantly subtle for it to work. I mean, that could be done. I think it'd be amazing if you could make it so subtle that the viewer is losing it as they were watching. Not literally losing it, but like becoming more and more freaked out as they went along.
I'd hope that because I am so into horror, I'd be able to do it well, and I would try to avoid as many typical cliches that you see in horror films nowadays.
That'd be good, interesting to do. So if you're watching Slingsby, bring a camera.
Get in touch again and yeah, start making films with us. There was another one, and I can't remember what it was. Fuck. It was one that I really was wanting to mention as well.
Comic book we were doing about that in the family, the house.
Which house?
Family in the house and the kid. I can't remember what the story was now.
I can't remember. Yeah, no, I'm not bothered about that. As a movie anyway. Basically, the only other thing that I actually want to do as a film, though, is create the ultimate evil. To find out one way or another to create ultimate evil, true evil, that will destroy people for the sake of destroying people. To take over the world for the sake of taking over the world. I don't want it to be some sort of god, I don't want it to be some sort of just random ghost. I just want it to be evil. Something evil, just evil manifested, just to destroy.
Kim Jong-un for 90 minutes.
Well, the closest evil that I've ever found written is in the original Ring novels, the original Ring trilogy. And if you read the second book, Spiral, you'll understand why by the end of it. Because in the first one, she's just an evil bitch that wants to kill people. In the films and stuff, it kind of gives you more sympathy for her. And in the books, it still gives you sympathy, but it takes it away because of how evil she actually is.
Well, is it a remake or a sequel coming out, or a prequel?
It's a sequel to the American film.
Is that coming out this year then?
I don't know if it's coming out this year or next year. I know it's.
I
think it is actually this year.
I was going to say
Rings, the American sequel. I think it's set 15 years or something like that, 13 to 15 years. I can't remember exact. After the Ring 2, the American version. I do want to watch it, and it probably would have been my third film on the other question, but I didn't like the second American, The Ring. The first one I didn't like that much, but it wasn't too bad.
I really didn't mind the first American Ring.
It was terrible.
I thought the first American Ring was a decent a decent attempt of replicating the Japanese version. Xbox is always recognising my hand. It was nowhere as good, but I felt like it was a good enough transition for people who didn't want to view the immense Japanese version, but people that wanted to view kind of.
I do love the Japanese version though, but it's like with the original Japanese version as well. I actually prefer the original The Ring 2, which was Raisin, which was based on Spiral. Whereas that's pretty much a forgotten film now, and the Ring 2 of Japan that we do have in like the Ring trilogy box set and everything else is the one that most people know, which has nothing to do with the original book, apart from like a sequel to the first book, where it's nothing to do with the original trilogy of books. And that's it. Those were our Q&As. I hope you enjoyed our answers. I hope we didn't annoy any of you with our answers. And if we did,
I've made a great chance with watching.
I don't know if we should have really mentioned what cliches we would avoid in horrors, but there are so many, it's probably hard to list.
I wouldn't put a cheeky tit shot in that, actually.
I wouldn't make a person randomly run upstairs when they know that the killer's in the house.
I wouldn't. I try to avoid all racial or sexual stereotypes in mine.
Yeah, like the token black guy.
I say I wouldn't have a tit shot, but maybe I would just for the laugh.
For the bearviness.
Yeah, bearviness and the laugh.
Right, here's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye.